And we are live. And please click on Start Webinar. Welcome, everybody. I see a few people joining us. I see about 5. Great. While we wait for a few people to join us, feel free to chat with us where you are joining us from. Welcome, everybody. We see someone is joining us from Minnesota. Okay. Welcome, welcome. We're just going to give it 1 more minute so other students are able to join us. In the meantime, I'd like to say welcome to the University of Minnesota. Have someone joining us from Brazil. A few others from Minnesota as well. Okay. Well, I believe that we are ready to start. Well, welcome everybody to the University of Minnesota and to our second Global Gopher Experiences session on preparing for your first advising session. The university is officially launching orientation starting tomorrow for our transfer students. So I look forward to hearing all of your orientation stories starting tomorrow. I would like to start with introductions. My name is Marina Uehara. I use she, her pronouns. And just like many of you joining us today from all over the world, I used to be an international student. I was actually from Argentina. So I see my neighbors here from Brazil joining us. It will be a huge temperature change, but I am super excited to have you all here. I'm the program director for student engagement in ISSS, and I look forward to having you all participate in our different Global Gopher Experiences session. I'm going to go to the next slide and I'm going to pass it on over to Ray.
Hi, my name is Ray. I'm a senior Global Gopher student leader. I use he, his pronoun, and I'm currently studying psychology. So today's webinar is talking about preparing first session, and so you can see from the slide lots of upcoming you can sign, and we recommend to next webinar and all of these sessions. And today we'll first talk about U.S. college experiences and talking about some session and some introductory components. And we also have a panel to share experiences, story about own advisor, and we will open a session for women related questions, and you can submit them through the Q&A. And also, if you run out of time, please send an email to the ISSNew@um.edu, and I'll pass it back to Marina.
So for the next slide, thank you, Ray. There are some orientation reminders for all of you. On behalf of Orientation Transition Experiences, we want to remind all of our international students to log in to checklist.umn.edu and complete the items on that checklist. You will be able to then complete your orientation reminders by completing the orientation prep course before your orientation date, and you'll be able to log in to orientation.umn.edu a day prior, where you'll be able to complete the first half of your orientation. And then all of you will be required to attend an in-person orientation in August, and we look forward to meeting you then when you arrive to Minnesota. And I'm going to pass it on over to Alex now.
Thank you, Marina, and welcome everybody. So we've assembled a large team here for you today to discuss kind of the shaping of advice and how that advice is going to come to you through your academic advisor. And so we have, I'm here from ISSS and Marina as well. We have Grant here from College of Food and Agricultural Natural Resources. Ray and Yuting are students currently, and they're going to share some experiences with you as well. And we also have Kelly from the College of Science and Engineering, Therese from the College of Liberal Arts, and from the Carlson School of Management, you have Annie Lynn. So lots of people here ready to answer your questions, either in the Q&A or from the chat. So next slide. So the college experience is a unique experience in which many Americans think it's when a child finally becomes an adult is through this college experience. And it is this experience of self-discovery, of looking at lots of different choices, lots of different ways of doing things, lots of different programs and majors, finding your own path and building skills at the outside of that path. And this is different from a lot of other college experiences around the world. In fact, I learned from one of my colleagues that the case in India is a case of not self-discovery, but predestination, in which a precise destination is found from the community, perhaps parents and teachers, and then you make steady progress along that journey. And at the end of that, you maximize job prospects. So it's more of a straight path versus a curvy path. And so the academic advisor helps make sure that you stay on that straight path and you find your way. Okay, next slide. So there's an ocean of advice. Advice comes from academic advisors, departmental advisors, even former academic advisors, if you're a transfer student. We have ISSS advisors as well, who would be happy to give you advice. And of course, career advisors about the next step after you receive your college degree at the University of Minnesota. But just because they have advisor at the end of their title doesn't mean they're the only ones who can give you advice. You also get advice from friends, upperclassmen. I'm sure your parents are still willing to give you some advice about what happens next. So there's lots of advice for you to weigh. But next slide. Through all that advice, you will find many paths, especially at the University of Minnesota. We're an enormous university. There's hundreds of classes and dozens of majors, dozens of minors. There's internships, research opportunities. There's even jobs at the University of Minnesota that you can have your first job experience here as well. So lots of different paths, all vying for your time and mental energy and resource. Okay, next slide. But the advisors make sure that you don't fall off the many paths, because there are rules and requirements, especially rules regarding your student visa and for the University of Minnesota, even rules for your major. So there's lots of opportunities, lots of choices, but there's some choices that you can't make because they'd be violation of rules. And so your academic advisors will make very clear what those are, so that you can have that freedom, but also not fall off the path. Okay, next slide. It is up to you. You will hear this statement often. It is one of the most favorite things that Americans, and especially Americans at college universities, say. It is up to you. It is your choice. So advisors give advice, but it is up to you to implement the advice. So it is up to you to follow up with your advisor. It is up to you to read the email coming to your official University of Minnesota email. And it is up to you to schedule. So maybe in the past, in high school, you had somebody following up. You said you're going to do this. Did you do it? Or I noticed you hadn't responded to the email. Please respond when you see them in person. and crossing on your way to class, crossing the hall on the way to class. But the university is very big. We're not going to run into you, so it is up to you to respond. Okay, next slide. So you'll have to self-advocate as well. So you can ask questions. I don't understand the liberal education requirement. Could you explain it? That's a good question. Can you speak slower? That is also a legitimate request you can make. Can you send me an email about what we discussed? Perhaps all the words were coming very rapidly, and you're allowed to make a request of your advisor to send a follow-up email so you can read it when you have more time. Can you put that link into the chat? That's something that you can ask here in a virtual environment. Can you add captioning to Zoom? That's also a request you can make. So in lots of other cultures around the world, it is up to the seniors or the elders or the teachers to intuit the needs or to understand or guess the needs of the students. But more so here in the college culture on the University of Minnesota campus, it is up to you to make those requests of those who are providing advice and helping. Okay, next slide. So you've prepared to come to university, probably in the United States or outside of your home country for several years. And you probably are aware that there are some US American cultural values, such as individualism. I've already said the word, it's up to you. Very individualist value here. There is the value of a contract. If you sign a document digitally or with your hands, that means that you agree to everything in the document, and that's a legally binding contract. Remember, the United States was founded by lawyers, and lawyers love contracts. And finally, as I mentioned earlier, you were considered an adult now that you're attending the university, and if you're 18 legally. And so all these values come together to create something called, next slide, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, also known as FERPA. And FERPA is unique in the way that it affects you, your college, and especially people supporting you, including your parents. And to say more about that, I'm going to pass it on to an academic advisor at CFANS, Grant McCormick.
Thank you, Alex. Hi, everyone. My name is Grant McCormick. I use he, him, or they, them pronouns. And like Alex said, I'm an academic advisor with the College of Food, Agricultural, and Natural Resource Sciences. And Alex wanted me to speak a little bit more about FERPA and how it can affect the advisor-student relationship. As an academic advisor, I am here to help you. I want to help you. My job is to help you, and I enjoy helping students. And I want to get to know you, and I want to make sure that you are given the best possible advice that suits you and also suits the major that you're planning on and the career that you want to go into. One American value is, like Alex said, individualism. And because of FERPA, which is a federal law in the US, I can only speak to you as the student. By law, I can't speak to anyone in your family about you and about your grades, your path at the university, or even the fact that you are a student at the university unless you give them permission. And permission is not saying to your advisor, it's okay if you talk to my parents. We have a lot of formal processes at the U, and giving formal permission through a signed document is one thing that is a big part of FERPA, because your educational history, your grades, everything involved with your academics is entirely yours. So if you want family to be included in some way, you have to go through additional steps that your advisor can walk you through in order to release the information. So just want to make sure that you understand what you share with an advisor is generally going to stay between you and your advisor, because you have the Family Educational Rights to Privacy Act that protects your privacy, and that's a very American value. We're here to help you, but at the same time, we're here to help you specifically. And if you have more questions on that, we can answer them in the Q&A. And myself and Annie and Kelly will also be here for the Q&A later for other questions you have about the advisor meeting, when your advisor will be assigned, and more. But I'm going to bring it back to Alex to talk about a couple of other topics that we have for you today.
Excellent. Thank you, Grant. So we have some panelists today who are current international students at the University of Minnesota, and they're going to share their experience about working with their academic advisor and what they learned. And first up, we have Ray, who will share his experience with you. Ray.
Thank you, Alex. Hi, everyone. My name is Ray. I use he, him, his pronoun. Yeah, I'm a senior majoring in psychology. And today I will share my story with my academic advisor. In the first place, I have no idea the concept of academic advisor, since I don't have any academic advisor in my previous education system. My understanding is just based on the title of the academic advisor. The person who gives the advice about the academics, and they are academic advisor. And in the beginning, we do talk a lot about academics with my advisor during the meeting. And we talk about what class should I take, what major should I go to learn. She provides me many useful suggestions planning the academic path, and it was really helpful and meets my expectation. Later in the conversation, she starts to ask me questions related to connecting to the community in the campus. I am surprised about that question because it is not related to academics. She provided me many useful resources that help me to make connections. Because if you want a full benefit of the university, you will need to make connections. She helped me connect more with my major and more with my social interests. Based on the major, she provides me information about psychology clubs. And I connect them later in this year and benefit a lot as a member of the club. Without this, I never hear many useful experience from the seniors and tips to help study psychology. My advisor also provides me a long club list so I can explore through my social interests. I joined the school esports club due to my passion for the game. And I met many nice friends and my best friend during the college. And we built deep connections and hang out each other very often. Without these opportunities, I can't find these amazing friends and build these connections by my own. I think my advisor provides a lot of support in making new friends in a big university. It's way beyond my expectation. From experience, I learned academic advisor is more than just helping you with academics. They can provide more help in other areas like making friends and building connections. And I'll pass back to Alex.
Great, thanks, Ray. And then finally, we have Yui-Ting, who will share some of her experience working with her academic advisor.
Thank you, Alex. Hi, everyone. My name is Yui-Ting Zhao. I'm a Global Gopher leader and an upcoming junior majoring in genetics, cell biology, and development in CBS. Well, when I was in your place, I was both excited and nervous. I was so excited about so many new things, new country, new people, and a new stage of my life. At the same time, I was worried about so many things, like, can I deal with so many things by myself? When I was in high school, we had a head teacher or student teacher for each class. But for now, I'm like a drop of water in 10,000 lakes. on such large campus in Minnesota, it seems like no one is going to monitor me, talk to me, and connect to me like my high school teachers. Well, different from high school, in college, the advice is available, but it's up to you to seek it. I gained freedom while feeling lost, facing so many things, such as college course registration system. There are so many classes. I feel like I'm trying to make a delicious meal to eat and facing so many ingredients in my kitchen. Then what kind of dish do I want to cook? What kind of ingredient do I want to put in my main dish or my main course? What are the side dishes? I was so confused. Luckily, I have my academic advisor. We met on Zoom and talked about my goal and graduation plan before my first course registration. He gave me a list of recommendation courses for my first semester. Well, it was so helpful to me as a new college student to learn how to register and select courses by myself. So I start my first semester with the intro level courses. I can use the graduation planner to plan the courses to ensure that I can graduate on time in 4 years. I can use the schedule builder to explore various options that I have before the graduation opens, and I can go to the CBS college website and APS to see what are my graduation requirements. Well, it is quite important to have a plan for the future courses, or you probably cannot graduate on time if you don't finish the major required courses. Then I love to email or meet with my academic advisor, even if the meeting is not required, even if my questions are not related to the academics. Well, I have so many concerns and doubts that I probably will never figure out by myself or with my friends. But for the academic advisor, because they have the many resources, so they can help me to figure them out. Then whenever I feel lost thinking about the future, such as should I go to a grad school, a professional school, or go to the work, I can talk to my academic advisor. I know that advisor, they have tons of experience dealing with hundreds of students like me. My advisor can help me to clear my mind, recognize what is truly important to me, and refer me to the truly important information that I need. For myself, personally, I would easily be anxious or frustrated before like a midterm exam or presentation. Well, I can share these feelings with my academic advisor. If I mess up one or two exams, I can ask whether I should drop it or withdraw this course or not to raise my GPA. I can always share my recent academic life, including the failure, the stress, and the success with my academic advisor. Well, it is so nice to have a person to hear you, support you, and give you advice based on your personal situation. Well, it's not just regular advice, but personal and professional advice developed from seeking hundreds of students. Finally, an academic advisor can be a good resource, a good friend, and a good support to either upcoming new student or all the sophomore, junior, and seniors, because in each stage, we will meet different challenges. Don't forget to ask for help and gain some advice from your advisor. At the same time, remember that you will make the most decision by yourself when you are a college student. It is sweet and clever to hear others' advice, but the most important thing is to fully be informed from the advisor, then make your true decision. Okay, then I will talk about how to stay connected with ISSS. So how to stay connected with ISSS? There are so many ways to stay connected with ISSS as a new international student, including the new student website in ISSS at www.isss.umn.edu/new and our Global Gopher Experience website. We will put the link to the chat later. You can also contact us at issnew@umn.edu via email, and an ISSS staff member will respond to you. Well, as an international student, it is never wrong to ask and connect with ISSS. So again, welcome to our Global Gopher family. Make sure you also follow us on our social media channels like the Discord channel, Next, I will pass it to Marina, who will introduce the Q&A portion.
Thank you, Yueting. And just like just like Yueting and Ray have said, and Alex and Grant have said throughout the presentation today, it is so important that you ask questions when you have those questions. Academic advisors have so much information, and even if they may not know all of the answers, they know the right people to ask those questions. So usually a good first person to ask will be your academic advisor. So make full use of their knowledge and their years of experience here at the University of Minnesota. Today we have a Q&A portion, and usually we leave quite a significant amount of time so you can all ask your live questions. So I see some students have utilized the Q&A function. So at the bottom of your screen, there's going to be two bubbles that say Q&A, questions and answers. If you click on that, you will be able to either submit a question anonymously, or you can submit it not anonymously. And if we're unable to answer that, at the end of every webinar, we'll be able to download all of the questions and follow up. Any specific questions that are specific to your circumstances, we will be asking you to email us at issssnew@umn.edu so we can properly follow up with your specific circumstances. But otherwise, we do have quite a few questions that students have submitted to us, and hopefully we can get through all of them today. So students, feel free to submit your questions. I do have one question regarding transfer students. So I'm going to ask Sarah Eric to come in on stage. The first question from a transfer student is, who can help me if I have questions about transfer credits? How does transfer credits evaluation work?
That is a good question. So transfer credits at the U of M can get a bit complicated, especially if you are transferring in credits from a school outside the United States. But essentially, I'm going to put a link here in the chat to everybody. The U of M has a nice online portal with which you can submit a syllabus to have your transfer credits evaluated. So, and make sure that if you are looking at things like a syllabus, that you're understanding kind of what they want. That generally means they actually want a week by week outline of the course, not just a general overview or something from a generic like course catalog. They actually want the week by week outline of all the assignments you're doing, the materials that you're using, and you can upload those documents. And your advisor can help you with this process too. And then the Office of Admissions will help determine, does that course transfer to the University of Minnesota? Does it fulfill one of the liberal education requirements or general requirements that everybody has to do? And depending on your major, might it fulfill a major requirement? So this process can take a little bit. So the biggest piece of advice I can give you all right now is, if you do have credits from post high school, like college credits, to make sure that you get those final transcripts in ASAP or right away so that we can start working on those. And again, your academic advisor can also help you with this process too at orientation.
Thank you, Sarah, for that. I'm going to be inviting now Grant to come on stage. I have a question regarding academic advising. I did see a similar question on the chat as well, but this question is, when will I be assigned an advisor?
Thanks, Marina. This is a very common question that we get asked, and it's not a simple answer because the University of Minnesota has a lot of different colleges within the university. And for some colleges, your academic advisor is only one person for the entire major. For some colleges, it could be 10 people. And you will meet with an academic advisor at orientation, but as Annie put in the chat, there's a difference from when your advisor will be assigned to you. So when you meet with an academic advisor during your orientation date, if you're wanting to know when you will have your assigned academic advisor, then you would want to ask them there. You will have an academic advisor as a point of contact in the fall semester, and between orientation and the fall semester, the advisor that you meet during orientation can always be a good point of contact to talk to. You can ask them for their email address if they don't share it with you, and ask them questions through email throughout the summer. and they would be more than happy to help you out. But you will have a assigned academic advisor generally by the start of fall semester or right at the beginning of fall semester. If you change your majors, that advisor can change though, because your advisor is usually based on the major that you have at the university, as well as the college that you are enrolled in. So CBS, the College of Biological Sciences, has different academic advisors compared to CSE, the College of Science and Engineering.
Thank you, Grant. The next question, I know you think talked a little bit about it with Schedule Builder, but when will I have my schedule for the fall?
You will get your fall schedule during orientation. A big part of the meeting with your academic advisor is going to be talking about classes that you will take that will go toward your major, and that includes liberal education classes. So if you are a mechanical engineering major, for example, you may be taking a lot of math and science classes. But if you are a psychology major, for example, you're likely not going to take all psychology classes, but you're still going to be taking classes that are part of your major in the liberal education requirements and in taking general credits because you need a certain number of credits to graduate. But you will have your schedule figured out for you, and then you will register for the schedule on your orientation date with academic advisors helping you during orientation to actually register for your classes.
Thank you, Grant. So it sounds like I really have to pay attention to my meeting with my academic advisor then. Great. The next question is a combo question about majors. We have lots of questions around how do I choose my major and what happens if I don't know my major. So the first question goes to Ray. How do you decide a major?
So you don't as a undergrad, you don't necessarily have to decide a major when you come in as a freshman, but you will need to declare it during sophomore. But if you have difficulties choosing a major, there's a campus resource called CAPE that will help you and find what the major that suits you. If you want to know about CAPE, you can join us during August. There's a academic resource session, and there are a lot of useful academic resource you can explore.
Thank you, Ray. But from an academic perspective, Grant, when can I change a major?
That's another difficult question because it depends on the major. So in CFANS, for example, the College of Food, Agricultural, and Natural Resource Sciences, we have some majors that have courses you need to take before you can get into that major, and some majors that don't. You can automatically go into that major. So for a student who wants to declare environmental science, let's say, you can change into that major at any point in time because we don't have any classes you need to take before you go into that major. And generally, the sooner you decide to change your major, the better, because not every class that you take will go toward every single major. For other colleges, it's a bit more of a complicated process because being admitted to the College for Education and Human Development, CEHD, doesn't necessarily mean that a major in CLA thinks that you have the classes you need to be successful in that major. So if you're switching any time during your college career, you want to talk to your academic advisor, and they will be able to guide you to some of the right people in the right college. I know that was not a straight answer, but it's because it really does depend on the major when you can do it and if you can switch your major. But the key is ask your academic advisor, talk to them as soon as you are considering a different major, and we will help you answer the questions and help you work through the process of who you should talk to, what the process looks like, and also some of the obstacles that might be in the way if you're trying to go into a new major.
Thank you, Grant. It just seems like we always recommend our students to always check in with a staff member, either an ISSS staff member or an academic advisor, because just like Grant said, there's not a straight answer, and it really depends on your specific situation and circumstances. So it's really important that you always check in with an advisor before you make decisions like this. And on top of all the difficulties, there's also the immigration layer to changing majors. So Emily, can you explain to us how do someone changes their major on their visa from a visa standpoint?
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for joining this morning. My name is Emily. I'm one of the international counselors here at ISSS. And yes, there are several requirements when you are changing your major. The first, of course, is talking to your academic advisor, but then you also do need to talk with us at ISSS. I won't go through the whole process now, but there is a form that you would need to complete when you're changing your major, because we need to make sure that it is reflected on the I-20 document that you get when you come here or that you need to get in order to come here to the US. So if you believe that you are going to change your major, reach out to your academic advisor and then also contact us at ISSS as well. And we are happy to walk you through that. That's for both sponsored and if non-sponsored students. If you're a sponsored student, make sure that you reach out to your sponsored advisor to discuss that option.
Again, it sounds like it's pretty complicated, so always make sure that you ask an advisor. A lot of our students sometimes will ask their friends. That's a great way to start, but to get an official answer, it's best that you ask a staff member so they can give you the official response as well. So for my next question, it's for Emily G again. In terms of immigration, how many in-person classes am I required to take this fall semester?
Great question. So, because the pandemic is still ongoing, the Student Exchange Visitor Program is allowing students to continue guidance from March of 2020. Now, if you weren't here in March of 2020, the guidance that has been provided for us is that students who are new to the US are required to take one in-person or hybrid course. And then if the rest of the schedule that works best for them is online, that is okay. So when you are new here to the US, it is a requirement that you take at least one in-person or hybrid course, and then you can work with your academic advisor to decide the rest of your schedule and what would work best for you. So we're happy that we still have this flexibility, and that will be true not just for the fall, but for the full academic year. After you've completed at least one semester, you can take as many online courses as you need in the spring semester. If you suspect that you might not make it here for the fall semester, please reach out to ISSS New to let us know, and then also contact your academic program as well to let them know, and we can talk about options.
Thank you, Emily. And then I'll be inviting the other Emily onto our stage and do a quick introduction. But we always get this question, and the question is, I still have a registration hold. How do I remove that?
Thanks, Marina. Hi, everybody. My name is Emily Royer. I'm the ISSS Check-in and Welcome Coordinator. So I'm sure I'll be corresponding with a lot of you in the fall as you begin arriving to Minnesota. So new international students receive the determined current visa status hold because they must complete 2 ISSS new student requirements. Shortly before your orientation date in the summer, ISSS staff will be temporarily lifting that hold out to August 31st, which will allow you to register for your fall courses. But in order to have that hold permanently removed, there's a couple things that you'll need to do. And there's 2 ISSS new student requirements that you'll need to complete. The first requirement is completing a set of online modules, which is called the International Student Preparation course, which some of you may already have done. And that's something that you would need to do before you arrive in the United States. The second requirement is the ISSS Check-in and Welcome, which has 2 steps. And you will be completing this as soon as possible after you arrive in the United States in the fall. The first step is to check in with ISSS as soon as possible. And this was an online process and will involve logging into your My ISSS account and notifying us of your arrival in the US or on campus and submitting copies of your immigration documents. The second step will be attending one of our ISSS welcome sessions. This presentation covers important information about your visa status and key things you need to do to get going at the university. For the fall, we'll be offering in-person welcome sessions for both freshmen and transfer students. And if you can't attend an in-person session for some reason, you are able to do an online course. So once you've completed both of those two requirements, your registration hold will be permanently removed. And again, as a reminder, our staff will be temporarily lifting your hold until August 31st, a few days before you register in the summer, to allow you to work with your advisors and register for fall courses on time.
Great. So students, just a reminder that the hold might still look like it's on your records, but it will be temporarily lifted. So you'll be able to register for classes when you meet with your academic advisor. I have some questions for Grant. We do have some academic advising related questions. I would like for them to be able to add on a little bit more. One of the questions was, I am from India and I'm coming in as a mechanical engineering major. Again, one of the question to ask for Grant would be, I'm not sure what level and type of curriculum the US has. How do I make a base in India itself, preparing before coming here? Like, what sources should I use to study and be ready to study in the United States?
So Kelly did a wonderful job answering that question. It really depends a lot upon your background. And this is something that you'll talk with your academic advisor about during orientation, because it really does depend on the individual student. So in the US, math and science curriculum might look very different than curriculum in South Africa, or curriculum in China, or curriculum in India. And one of the key things that I would say is important if you are a new student, like a freshman coming in, is to take those placement tests, because those placement tests will be the first step in determining what classes you should be going into, but they're not the only step. A lot of the coursework, it will talk about the prerequisites you'll need for the classes. So for example, if you are going into a very math heavy major and you will have to take multiple calculus classes, when you're signing up for a class, it will say calculus 2, prerequisite calculus 1. And from there, the academic advisor can talk to you about the content that is generally required before you go into that specific course. When we recommend courses, we try to have as open of a conversation in saying, hey, I think you have the content that you need for this course, and here are some on-campus resources you can use if you need help, if you need tutoring, if you have questions about the content. Or we may say, hey, this class is a little bit higher than what we see as you having the resources for, so we think it would be better if you started with this class first to build up that better foundation. We are never saying that as an insult. We are not trying to insult your intelligence or insult what you are capable of doing. We want to make sure that you're going to be successful in the class and also have all the skills and resources you need. Now, there may be some struggles that you have with classes, especially if you haven't been to the US before. There may be some issues with miscommunications and translation. So really talk to your advisor about the classes that they're recommending for you, and know that your advisor is not trying to steer you wrong. They want what's best for you, and they want to make sure you're successful. And generally, the classes should be structured so when you go into it, you have all the knowledge you need to start that class, and everything else will build on itself.
Thank you, Grant. And then just a reminder for our new students is that there's also a lot of classes that are tailored to international students so they can be successful. And all the people here today are very, very knowledgeable on cross-cultural differences and international student experiences. So they're able, and they've met with so many international students and know what are some of the typical questions students ask. I do want to do a follow-up, Grant. Dia submitted a question. I know you've answered what courses to take for majors, but one of the questions is, can we just choose any course that we want to take?
That's one of the keys about America is we talk about freedom a lot. And yes, you can register for most any class that you want to. That does not mean that you should. An academic advisor will not schedule your classes for you. So you are the one who is registering for your classes, and we are the ones who recommend the classes that you sign up for. There is a tool at the university that we call APAS, and I'll put that in the chat, or if one of the other advisors can put that in the chat also, which will tell you all the classes you need in order to graduate with that degree. Academic advisors will use that resource in order to help you plan the classes you need to check off the boxes of what you have to complete for those specific major requirements. Now, there will be other classes that you take on the side that are not specific major requirements, and that's perfectly okay. When I was a student, I took 3 semesters of volleyball. I did not major in volleyball. I majored in animal behavior. But I was really happy to have those other classes because it was a good break from the hard science and math courses. So you can you have a lot of flexibility in what classes you can take, whether they're related to your major or not related to your major. But there are some that advisors don't recommend you take. For example, if you are going into an art major, we don't recommend you take Calculus 3 because that's not related to your major. And unless you really, really, really enjoy math, it's a really tough class and you don't need to take it. So it's up to you to officially register for the classes, but your advisor will be there to help keep you on track and make sure you are taking the classes required to graduate with your degree.
Thank you, Grant. And I'll be inviting Ray and Yueting to maybe ask about their experiences with some of their classes. Was there a really good elective class that you took, or what did you do to be successful in a major related class? So Ray, I'll start with you.
I'll say there are some really fun PE classes during the semester. So there are really fun 1 period classes, not much pressure. So I usually take them as a kind of break between these all major classes you need to take. And it's a very good courses to have some relief. My personal recommendation would be some karate class, some self-defense class. They're pretty simple and pretty useful.
Yeah, actually, I just registered a PE course for my next semester for self-defense. Well, anyway, for me personally, I will schedule my major required course first using Schedule Builder. And upon that, I will see if, for example, I plan 15 credit for my semester. Besides the major required courses, the hard science courses, I usually have 1, 2, 3 PE or social science or other like leadership course as a side dishes to my semester's course. Yeah, I think it is very interesting to explore different courses as a university experience to explore and see different courses, including arts, social science, PE, whatever you want, as long as you think you should and you want to take it.
Thank you, Yueting and Ray. I do want to do a follow-up question on the Q&A. It's regarding a COVID-19 vaccination on the student checklist. Oftentimes you will see that they will be asking you for a vaccination attestation. That's just you stating that, yes, I've gotten the vaccine. And eventually you will have to upload the documents onto your MyU records. So there's 2 steps, but for right now, whenever they ask for an attestation, you just have to say yes, that you have been vaccinated with a WHO, World Health Organization approved vaccine. And if you look at the safecampus.umn.edu website, you will be able to see which are some of those vaccines. Again, for international students, currently, there is a mandatory, you will have to show proof of vaccination and a negative COVID test before you board a flight. So that's not a university requirement. That's going to be a President Biden proclamation that is still current for a lot of international students. So I did want to add on a little bit of that. We will have a health and wellness webinar in July, at the end of July. So we encourage you to attend that session. We will have people from Boynton and the Office of Health Benefits attend our session. And we also in ISSS meet with health response officials every 2 weeks. So we do get updates if anything changes, and we would be able to provide those updates at our Global Gopher Experiences webinar every 2 weeks if there are any significant changes. So with that being said, thank you everybody for submitting your questions. I'm gonna pass it on over to Ray to talk about what is next.
So our next webinar is talking about preparing off-campus living. It's happened June 15, and it's also the same time, 9 to 8 Central Time. Please register webinar in advance through the link z.um.edu/June. And we're looking for our communication, and see you all to the next webinar.
Thank you all, and thank you all to our guest speakers and staff member who were able to join us today. Welcome to the University of Minnesota, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.